All right, guys, today we're doing another deep dive video and we're focusing on another summer themed deep dive video. Last week we did tropical fragrances. If you haven't caught that video, please go catch it. It's a long form video with almost 100, if not more than 100 fragrances in that video. So you'll learn a lot about tropical fragrances, and all of the fragrances are broken down into categories, so you can go to fruity, floral, and things like that. But today we're tackling salt in fragrances, and it's not as big of a video or long of a video, but I like the idea of salt in fragrances. I like that they can replace the usage of very marine or calone like notes, but they give you the experience of marine or ocean and things like that, but they don't become overly heavy with that like sulfuric smell that sometimes notes like calone can create. So salt can give you the idea of ocean air, sea spray, wet rocks, driftwood, seaweed, skin after swimming, kind of mineral touches, ambergris, maybe even sunscreen and things like that. So I like the idea of salt in fragrances. And just think of cooking. I've cooked a lot, and just a dash of like a pinch of salt in something sweet can actually boost up the flavoring. So it can do similar things in fragrances as well. And I've gotten into the idea of salt more and more as I evolve in fragrances, and really do enjoy the idea of salt. I think the very first time I was experiencing salt in a fragrance, if I can find that fragrance, is this. This is sea salt in caramel, or salt caramel, from the house of Shea and Blue. I was like, salt? Really? And then we had Sel the Vetiver. So these two were my very first salty fragrance experiences, where smell and taste are all connected. So in this case, there's not a lot of smell in salt, but for some reason you can really almost taste what you're wearing as far as perfume goes, and experience the saltiness in these fragrances. So before we move on with the fragrances, I do want to let you know all of these will be timestamp tagged if I can find them online for you. So if you're in the market for any of these fragrances, you can buy them. But also, before we move forward with the list, let me know if you have favorite salt focused fragrances or salty fragrances. Do you like them more marine leaning, or do you like them more gourmand leaning? Let me know. Add a comment below so we can find out. Now let's get started with the list. So the first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Acqua dell'Elba's Essenza Mare. Are you guys familiar with this one? So this has salty notes added there. It's also got some aromatics and spices, lots of woods and ambery notes and musky notes in the base as well. And if you're looking for something that is in the ballpark of something like Mega Mare, you can definitely try this Essenza Mare. I don't think it's as intense as Mega Mare, but it's the same vibe, same experience. So you have a very marine experience here with a lot of salty notes as well, but there are some spices thrown in. Musky notes like cashmeran. There's amber woodsy notes in here as well. And you have some light citruses that come in as well. But the experience is very marine. It's super salty and very amber woody as well. So that is the fragrance we're starting off the list with. This is Essenza Mare from the house of Acqua dell'Elba. Let me know your thoughts on that fragrance. Have you experienced that brand before? We featured the brand several times. In fact, that fragrance was in a past mystery box. So if you happen to have gotten that, you would have experienced that fragrance. And also the brand was at Scentfest recently. So if you came, you would have been able to see that brand in person and meet them. All right, up next, we're going to the house of Amouroud Wet Stone. So this is it, Wet Stone on the coast, very salty experience, and marine at the same time. I kind of hung out on the coast recently in Monterey area, and I kind of really like that kind of almost like there's a lot of vegetation, green, but you can smell the vegetation and also the saltiness that's near it or around it there. So it's really kind of refreshing, invigorating, cool and crisp, and also very salty. Here with Wet Stone, it's got some woods here. There's like apparently they have wet stone accord in this. There's ambergris mentioned. There's light citruses, and then also something like ginger. There's a lot of zing and spice here as well. So in the end, you've got something marine and salty, fresh and citrusy, a little spicy as well, and it's settling to some woods in the dry down. So it doesn't go super marine, but you really can pick up the sea or marine qualities there, including the saltiness and of course the ambergris, which thankfully doesn't go super animalic with that. So definitely captures the idea of the wet stone on the coast, maybe a little salt with the waves of the ocean on it and things like that. So that's the idea with this fragrance. So this is Amouroud's Wet Stone. Let me know your thoughts if you've tried something like this. Add a comment below. Let's move on to the next fragrance. This is Art de Parfum's Sea Foam. Cool idea for a fragrance, Sea Foam. Let me know if you guys are familiar with this house. What's going on with this house? I haven't heard from the house for a while. But Sea Foam is super fresh, very breezy. It's very sea salty with sea notes. There's driftwood here and a lot of citruses, but there's also something that's really unique, and to me it reminds me of the San Francisco coast with the eucalyptus note in here. I absolutely love walking on the coast here in San Francisco, although I haven't done it for a while, on the coast, and there's a lot of eucalyptus trees, so you can smell the greenness, the camphor touch, the sea air, the salty air, and all the vegetation and the earthiness and the woods and the leaves and shrubs and things like that all around. That's the kind of experience this gives me. This is a bit further on the beach though, and so it's a great scent. It's thankfully not overly marine, which is what I like, but over the years I've gotten more and more used to the idea of marine leaning fragrances, as long as they're not overwhelming and overdoing the usage of calone like notes, which can become very sulfuric and nauseating. So that's Sea Foam, appropriately titled fragrance. Sea Foam from the house of Art de Parfum. We're moving on to something more citrusy. This is Pomelo Riviera from the house of Atelier d'Azur. You guys familiar with this house? This is grapefruit. There's jasmine here, bergamot, orange blossom. There are also salty notes, a little bit of rose and cedar. So this is a part of the Riviera collection from this house. It's not super marine, which is great. In fact, there's hardly any marine touches. We're getting that marine experience from the sea salt that's in here, which is really, really awesome. Like it's a salt accord, but it's mostly a citrus. It's super zingy. It's very, very bright and very solar at the same time. But as I was saying earlier, a pinch of salt does magic to some ingredients and things like that. So which is what it's doing here. It kind of makes the citruses really come further alive here. So lots of zing, lots of freshness, very invigorating. That salty experience is very, very prominent there. There's some light florals and woods in there as well. And it's a fantastic freshie if you like the idea of something salty and citrusy. So that's Pomelo Riviera from the house of Atelier d'Azur. Up next, we've got BDK Sel d'Argent. This is probably one of the most popular salty fragrances. If you are wanting to explore salty fragrances, this definitely should be on your list, although all the fragrances here should be on your list. But some of the fragrances that I'm going to talk to you about today are not necessarily super duper salty. They have salty experiences or accords in them. Here, it's all salty and all marine experience. I think the blue color of the bottle kind of gives it away, as you can see. And so we've got ambroxan here. There's orange blossom, musky notes like cashmeran. There's also some timber silk here, so it's woody. But for me, it's what the salt is doing to the citrusy floral notes that are in here, which is awesome. It tones it down. You still have that orange blossom prominence in this, but it almost takes it into a beachy direction because it's adding that salt to it, and almost to the point of acting a little bit like sunscreen and salty, beachy kind of a smell. It's really great, actually. I haven't noticed how great this is. Now that I'm talking about salt in fragrances, sometimes things start smelling better because I'm all into it and, wanting to experience the idea of salt in fragrances. But yeah, BDK Sel d'Argent is quite lovely. If you haven't tried it, please do, especially if you're into the idea of salty fragrances. So next we've got Geeza's Cocoa Moon. So this is salty, tropical, and coconutty. And we discussed this last week in the tropical fragrances video. But it's also on the very salty side and super duper coconutty. So there are some light touches of something smelling a bit like suntan lotion or sunscreen, but definitely it's truly salty. So it adds a marine edge to the experience. And so also because it's coconut, it has a very tropical experience. It's a bit sweet, salty, lightly marine, and of course fruity, coconutty, and creamy at the same time. I think the brand has changed bottles. Have you guys heard about that? Beach Geeza has changed their bottles. But either way, this is Cocoa Moon from the house of Beach Geeza. Let me know your thoughts on that fragrance. Next, we're going to the house of... this is... oh, I think I'm missing a fragrance here. I'll have to pause. All right, next up, we're going to the house of Boho Boko. It's sea salt and caramel. Kind of sort of the idea of salt caramel from the house of Shea and Blue, but they do smell different. Obviously, they're not identical here. So the idea of salted caramel is a delight. I absolutely love eating it. It's super delicious. And there we go with that experience again, adding salt to something super sweet like vanilla. Here, we have a pretty complex experience. There's a lot of citruses, there's a lot of floral notes, there's peppery, spicy notes, sugary, brown sugar, caramel experience with a little bit of vanillic touches. But it does kind of go marine. There is seaweed here. There's, of course, the salt. So it's quite intense in the experience. So you have the idea of sweet gourmand with marine and salty here together. But along the way, you have floral notes and, of course, spicy notes too. What are your thoughts on sea salt and caramel? Actually, it's just sea salt caramel. Let me know. Add a comment below. Let's move on to the house of Carner, Barcelona. This is Salado. Salado. I think I have a full review of this on the channel from a while ago. Salado, it's almost like salad, but it's not quite referring to that. I think it's referring to salt, right? So cucumber, sea salt, petitgrain, bergamot, orange blossom. So it's a very fresh, crisp experience. And for some reason, when I think of salt and cucumbers, I almost think of a salad, which is kind of strange, but it actually works quite well here. The salt adds it almost like tones down the super floral touches of the flowers in here. And of course, the cucumber adds this kind of ozonic, crisp freshness, a bit watery. So it's very, very fresh. And it also has that petitgrain. So petitgrain is there, but it's like it's toned down. This is what the salt is doing. It's not, in the case of cooking, it almost feels like it amplifies it and makes it smell better. Here, I feel like the salt has toned down the intensity of some of the notes they're using in this fragrance. But the cucumber is softened up, and of course the petitgrain is also softened up. The petitgrain is awesome. I absolutely love this note, and it feels like it's not at its full strength because that salty note is in here. But it's a very fresh fragrance. I wouldn't go to the extent of calling it something salad-like because they have the cucumber in there, but it gives me a little bit of the vibe. But the cucumber, I feel like is super crisp and fresh in there. It's almost like if you add a little bit of juniper in there, it can become a bit like a gin tonic, because a Hendrick's gin tonic with cucumber as the garnish in the drink. But I think it's a great smell. Carner Barcelona's Salado. Let me know if you've tried it. Up next, we've got Carthusia's A'Mmare with the most gorgeous bottle, as you can see right here. Super awesome. This is a marine fragrance that's super tolerable to wear. I absolutely love the way this smells. It doesn't go super fishy, thankfully. There's aromatic notes here, salty notes, water or aquatic notes, and there's lots of woods in the dry down as well. So they're basically creating a marine fragrance. Obviously, you could see from the bottle, they've gone and shown all the fishes underwater. But it doesn't smell like fish, thankfully. There are a few fragrances here that will. I'll tell you about them. I have a challenging time wearing them. But this is the idea of underwater, the sea, but it doesn't fully go there. I just love that it kind of has aromatic touches. So like herbs like rosemary. I think there's also mint here. And then, of course, the woods in the dry down. But, of course, it's quite salty. And it has that water aquatic effect as well. So it's very fresh. It's a very fresh fragrance. That's A'Mmare from the House of Carthusia. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Then we're going to the House of Clean Reserve. This is Scent Skin Intense. I think scent is, it's not scent. So it's Clean Reserve Scent Intense, I think is what, I'm sorry, Skin Intense? Yeah. It's a bit confusing. So one sec. The original Clean Reserve Skin is this. Really awesome musky fragrance. This is the more intense version, intense parfum version. And this version has the salty skin accord, which I wanted to feature here. It's a updated version of the original, but much more intense, and also the updated notes breakdown, which definitely has a sea salt accord. But there's also something sweet in here, like caramel. There's a little vanilla, there's jasmine, lily of the valley, tonka, sandalwood. It's super creamy, but it is much more potent than the original. It's not as skin scenty as the original, but it still feels like it's softer, and it's what do you call it? It's reserved. It feels like it's reserved. That's the name as well. But it's intensified. You can really experience how much more intense it is between the two. And I feel like the salt is kind of toning down and making it a bit more skin-like, because you have the addition of the caramel and the vanilla and the tonka featured in here now as well, which normally it amplifies and intensifies fragrances. So, really awesome scent. I fell in love with this at Sephora and had to have it. I've done videos on this, and then now they have the intense version. As soon as I bought the regular, I found out the intense version was coming out, so I had to have the intense version as well. And both of them are great. Again, just keep in mind the original is much more minimalistic and much more of a skin scent in comparison to the intense version, which is a bit confusing. It does say Intense Parfum on the front there, right there. But on the bottom, it says Eau de Parfum, so it's a bit confusing which concentration it is. All right, up next, we're going to the House of Comme des Garçons. It's ERL Sunscreen, which was also featured last week in our Tropical Fragrances video. This is beachy, it has salinity, and it definitely has a sunscreen effect. But to me, I feel like this is more at a swimming pool rather than on the beach. But it does have beachy qualities for sure. It's a bit minimalistic, so it's not super strong, but I think the idea is perfectly captured here in the way the fragrance smells. It's a bit plasticky, waxy, but it's a fun fragrance for sure. So that is Sunscreen, ERL Sunscreen from the House of Comme des Garçons. I don't know what the ERL stands for, if anybody knows, but it's right there. My table is a bit full. All right, next going to the House of Creed. It's Millésime Impérial. This is fruity, salty, marine notes. There's citruses and musks in the experience as well. The fruits are nice. It gives you a little bit of a tropical experience because of the fruits and the fact that it has the marine notes and the salt in there as well. Totally like you're on the beach in a tropical destination, but it's super freshened up with all the citruses that are in here. I think this is quite popular. To me, it also smells like melons, the fruity notes in here. I feel like it's not watermelon, but like cantaloupe and those kind of honeydew-like melons. There's a smell like that in this fragrance, which I did have a bit of challenge with in the past, but I think I'm adapting to it, I'm adjusting to it, and it's not as challenging because marine notes were really completely challenging for me in the past. I've slowly gotten used to them, except, like I say, the ones that really bother me are the ones that are super calone heavy. But this is kind of fun. It's like vacation in a bottle. So that's Creed's Millésime Impérial. Let me know if you're familiar with that. I'm sure you are. Up next, going to the House of Dior, it's Eden Roc. Are you familiar with Eden Roc? So Eden Roc is like probably three before the last fragrance Francois Demachet created. And it's been a popular offering for the house. So it's kind of minerally, salty, marine. Also, so there's marine notes, mineral notes, sea salt, solar notes, because it has bright kind of bright citruses or bright flowers in the mix. So it's a very unique experience. I personally think the quality of the fragrance is awesome. It's a great fragrance that Francois Demachet has given us. It's not my favorite fragrance of all time that he's made, but I respect how quality it is. And I think that's the reason why people that enjoy these kind of like solar, mineral, marine, and salty fragrances, I don't wear it myself, if at all. I've worn it to test it out, and I respect the craftsmanship on this one. And I do respect Francois Demachet's work. I don't know. Hopefully he comes back and does fragrances, but that's Eden Roc, and that's from the House of Dior. And then we're going to the House of Gleam Perfume. This is Domenica. This is an interesting salty fragrance. An interesting salty fragrance that has salt and also earthy notes like petrichor. So there's salt, cotton flower in this. There are solar notes, smoke, very unusual combination of ingredients and notes together. It almost seems like it won't work together, but it does. But do I really want to wear this? You really can experience the salt. It's almost like there's a cabin right on the coast. It's a stormy day and something caught on fire and it's burning. The cabin is burning, and you have that salty, wet air in the mix with the smoke of the fire that's burning and the earth at the same time together. That's kind of what I envision with this fragrance. It's a very visual, almost like a black and white movie on the coast. I don't know where I'm getting that kind of visual, but that's what I envision with this. Very stormy night, cold, wet, salty, stormy. Anyway, let me know if you guys have tried Domenica from the House of Gleam. We've got two fragrances from the house of Goldfield and Banks. Not Branks, Goldfield and Banks. We're going to talk about Pacific Rock Moss first. And even though this is not featuring a salt note or a salt accord, the moss note that they're using in here, since it's a coastal moss, it acts very salty, and the experience of beach is 100% accurate for this one. It's very, very beachy, salty, lightly marine, and mossy. So the moss is what's, I think, creating that salty effect that happens in here. And this one also, you can do great layering with. I think you can layer it with citruses. You can layer it with anything like woods, because the way the fragrance is created, there's a lot of room to play with for layering. So I think I just skipped the fragrance, unfortunately, and I'm going to go back to it after I'm finished with Goldfield and Banks. But let me know your thoughts on Pacific Rock Moss. Are you a fan? And I do have Pacific Rock Flower as well. For me, this seems a bit more, well, it's Pacific Rock Flower, so it's a lot more floral forward, but very salty and also citrusy. There's a lot of freshness here. I think I'm kind of jumping around. I think Pacific Rock Flower should have come first and then Pacific Rock Moss. But this is a bouquet of white flowers and also woods in the base, earthy notes in the base, mossy notes in the base. And then, of course, you've got that salt to kind of like tone things down. Let me know if you're a fan of Pacific Rock Moss and Pacific Rock Flower. Which is your favorite? I've worn Pacific Rock Moss quite a bit. I'm slowly starting to enjoy and appreciate Pacific Rock Flower as well. There's definitely something crisp about it, and I think it's the citruses in here that are creating that. It's very crisp. So let me know your thoughts on Pacific Rock Moss and Pacific Rock Flower. Are you a fan? All right, going back to the Fs, we've got Fascent Sel. So this was in our video from last week, Tropical Fragrances. It has tropical floral notes. This to me is very salty, beachy. White flowers, almost like citrus floral notes as well. And the salt hitting those floral notes creates that beachy effect. Very fun name also, C'est la vie. And the fact that these are tiny little bottles are easy to carry around, and fun little, fragrances from the line, from the brand. But super tropical, floral, salty, and beachy. Does it smell like a sunscreen? Not really, but I think it might hint at it. It doesn't have a lot of warmth to give you that kind of an effect. It's mostly the floral notes and the salty notes, light marine notes in here that are giving you that kind of a salty floral effect and the beachy effect. All right, so that's Fascent Sel. Let me know your thoughts on that. All right, we're going back on the list in the correct order. This is Healy's Note de Yuzu. So this is the yuzu note. So yuzu is already somewhat salty. Oops. And I think what they've done here is intensified and brought out the salty character of the yuzu. It's super fresh. It kind of tones down the astringency and the bitterness of the yuzu. and adds the light beachy effect to the fragrance as well to me. It's pretty simplistic, but if you like the idea of yuzu in fragrances, this is fun. It's simplistic, it's easy to wear, and it's a nice change to something like your traditional cologne where, you know, if it's like Neroli Portofino or something, you're going to do something a little different and maybe a slight marine edge with the saltiness. So that is Note de Yuzu from the House of Healy. What is going on with the brand in the States? I think Lucky Scent's probably the only retailer I can find that fragrance at. What do you guys think? All right, we've got a fragrance from the House of Ipiccirilli. This is Cocobay. What are your thoughts on this fragrance? This was actually featured in last week's tropical fragrances video. This is slightly gourmand, super duper coconutty, milky. This definitely acts sunscreeny, suntan lotiony, but super salty as well. The salt is noticeable, but there's tropical floral notes here. There's even vanilla and cocoa. That adds a nice contrast to the fragrance. There's a little beeswax. It's super creamy. A sandalwood is also present. So the fact that it has multiple varieties of coconut and the sandalwood, it's super creamy. So it acts like a very creamy, oily sunscreen you're putting on your skin. So just imagine you've just put on and lathered on all that sunscreen or suntan lotion, and you just dipped into the sea. So you get back out, you've got the oil on skin, but now it's mixed in with the salty seawater. And that's the smell you're getting right now. That's how this smells to me. It's a fun fragrance and a fun brand. Let me know if you guys are familiar with that. My mix is completely out of order, and this is also out of order. I don't know how I messed this up, but I apologize. So I think what I did was I copied my notes from previous videos I've done where I labeled Healy as Healy, and then I've labeled another fragrance as James Healy. It's the same brand. And so on the brand itself, it's Healy, but I think the brand is known as James Healy. So H-I-J. So H for Healy, the first Healy, I for Ipiccirilli, and then J for James Healy. So I was putting it all out of order. But this is Cocobello. This is kind of a green, salty coconut offering from the House of Healy. It's super woody and not sweet whatsoever. It's also not creamy. It doesn't come off creamy to me. The salt is very noticeable. And the green notes is also pretty contrasty against the creaminess. And the creaminess to me of the coconuts generally adds a layer of warmth. But the fact that it has the greenness and the salt, I think there's not much warmth in this particular fragrance. So this is more of like a tropical destination, palm forest, palm tree, the coconut tree forest, I should say. And it's green. It's more woods and not super damp or wet also. It's coming off super dry. But again, salt is pretty intense in this, which adds a contrast to the fragrance. So this is Cocobello from James Healy. Let me know if you guys are a fan of that brand. It doesn't get talked about much. I actually met James Healy once at Barney's here in San Francisco. I happened to be dropping by at Barney's to check out some fragrances, and he was visiting. But that was kind of like 2017 or 18, somewhere around there. But the next fragrance, we're talking about Joe Malone. Oh, not Joe Malone. I'm all over the place today. Sorry, guys. Joe Malone's Wood, Sage, and Sea Salt. Yeah. My mix... My alphabetization is all messed up. So Joe Malone's Wood, Sage, and Sea Salt is a really awesome representation for a salty fragrance. But you've got ambrette here, the sage, the woodsy notes, and the sea salt. That's quite simplistic. A crowd-pleasing fragrance, very easy to wear. and one of the best offerings from Jo Malone, I think. I like the idea of the muskiness. It's ambrette seeds, so it provides a slight fruitiness in there. The aromatic touches of the sage and the woods together, the dryness, but then you've got the sea salt, which adds a slight marine edge to the fragrance, which is awesome. This is, I think, one of the fragrances that really got me to enjoy salt in fragrances. And even though I was saying it was this fragrance right here, and what was the other one? This is Sel de Vetiver. This is actually salt in a mass market niche brand that really got me to appreciate it. And the salt, there's a salty effect here, but I wouldn't say this is as salty as Sel de Vetiver. You can really notice the salt. But it's a really awesome scent. I just wish it lasted longer. I know Jo Malone also has a new one. Something sea salt and bergamot, I think. I just tested it at Neiman Marcus. I actually really liked that one. I'm surprised it was good. I thought it was going to be super marine, but it smelled great. I didn't buy it for this video, unfortunately, but maybe on a next salty video. But the other one also, I wanted to pick up Ellis Brooklyn's salt. I went to Sephora to buy it, and they were out of stock. So sadly, we're not talking about that fragrance either. All right, the next fragrance we're talking about is Juliette Hazegun's Vanilla Vibes. We're making this as best in alphabetical order as possible. And this is a love at first sniff. Really loved it. But you know what? What came after this from another brand? Unfortunately, I wanted to feature it here. It's discontinued, sadly. It's a L'Artisan's Color Vanille, something like that. I forgot the name. Color Vanille is, I think, the name of it. And to me, it was a much more vanillic, ambery, salty experience in comparison to Juliette Hazegun. And sadly, it got discontinued. I don't know why, but L'Artisan and Puig, who owns the brand, discontinues fragrances left and right. But we still have Juliette Hazegun's Vanilla Vibes. It's still an awesome scent. It's salty, it's vanillic, it's beachy, it's a bit floral, and then lightly amber in the base as well. Really nicely done. I just wish the L'Artisan was around, because if you like the simplicity of the Vanilla Vibes and you wanted to be a bit more deeper and more intense, I think you would have enjoyed Color Vanille from L'Artisan. Thankfully, I had just bought a backup bottle of that because I have finished my previous bottle, and I didn't even know I had bought it, but I do own a backup bottle of Color Vanille from L'Artisan. But this is actually pleasant. I think this is more beachy, whereas Color Vanille from L'Artisan is more vanilla and salt. And amber. This doesn't get super duper ambery to me, but a great scent nonetheless. This is Juliette Hazegun's Vanilla Vibes. Let me know if you're a fan. Up next, going to the house of Kerosene. This is Walk the Sea for something a bit more animalic. This is animalic, marine, salty, ambergris. This was a bit challenging for me at first. It's grown on me. Fragrances like these are what open up my palate and appreciating salty, marine-y kind of fragrances. But to me, there's a darkness about this. There's definitely... So ambergris is a complicated note for me. I think the usage of the ambergris in this kind of creates a slight smoky effect. Almost like an animalic smoke. It's quite salty for sure. It totally takes me to the sea. But there's also loads of floral notes, musk, and there's also, I think, woods in here as well. But I feel like the ambergris and the sea salt together is creating a very salty marine effect. And the ambergris they're using in here is a bit animalic as well. But they have enough white flowers to balance it out. And the salt also cuts through the animalic intensity. So it's actually quite nice. Definitely not something I would expect from the House of Kerosene, but he did a great job on this one. So this is Walk the Sea from Kerosene. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Then we're going to the house of Le Persona. This is Salty Skin. Salty Skin, I'm surprised at how great it is. There's definitely something angelic about it. It's soft, and it's a skin scent. That's why it's called Salty Skin. And it's skin that's been dipped into the sea and come out without sunscreen on, no suntan lotion, no sunscreen. And the water, the sea water has dried. And it's that effect, the way the fragrance smells. So it's salty, lightly marine, but also musky skin. This one, I like the subtleties and the softness. Gorgeous, actually. There might be some floral notes in this as well to create this, give it a pretty effect. I feel like floral notes, when they add those into fragrances, they go in that kind of a pretty direction. But this is from the house of Le Persona. This is Salty Skin. And then we've got another fragrance right after this. It's kind of a similar effect, actually. This is L'Or Sublimity. We spoke about this one last week as well. This is the similar idea to Salty Skin from Le Persona, but this is a bit more beachy, but still the idea, it's the similar idea as the Salty Skin from Le Persona, but just a bit more of a beachy effect at the same time, because they have coconut in the mix here. But to me, L'Or's Sublimity is also a bit more of a skin scent compared to Salty Skin by Le Persona. This is super skin scenty. But it's tropical because it has ylang ylang, it's coconutty, fruity, and then salty skin scent. There are musky notes in this as well, and then like a solar accord. I really love this. I love both of these fragrances back to back because I love skin scents. And musky skin scents are super awesome. I love them. So this is Salty Skin from Le Persona. This is L'Or Sublimity. Let me know if you're familiar with that. I should say, let me know if you're familiar with both of those. Next, we're going to the house of Loumari. It's Porthole. Yeah, this is the salty fragrance that really got me to appreciate salt in fragrances. This, to me, you know how they put salt on the rim of a margarita? This is kind of like that to me. It's like a tropical, fruity, pineapple-forward margarita with a salt on the rim. It's that delicious. Really, really delicious. It smells great. It's like a vacation in a bottle. It's marine where it doesn't go fishy or overdosed with seaweedy notes. It's just the salt that's creating this effect against the pineapple, which is sweet tart in this and has a juicy effect. That's why I feel like this is kind of like a cocktail. It has like a cocktail-like effect. And I'm envisioning something like a margarita, but a juicy, fruity margarita with an overdose of pineapple juice and its pulp as well. And then you've got that salted rim. So good. So good. Big fan of this one. This is Porthole from the house of Loumari. We actually featured that in a Scent Club kit. Love that fragrance. Still my number one, but Radon 4 is pretty close behind it, by the way. If you guys haven't tried Radon 4, please try it. It's pretty darn good. But also, if you haven't tried the Loumari Porthole, you should try that as well. Next, going to the house of Maison Crivelli. This is Rose Salty Folia. So just imagine going to, actually, this is, I'm going to take that back. This is like a rose garden along the coast where you're smelling the salty sea air and smelling the gorgeous roses that are bloomed and opened up and that are baking under the sun, where their fragrance is intensifying further under the sun. But again, that saltiness is so prominent here against the rose. It tones down the rose's intensity. I was recently in Santa Barbara, and it's on the coast, but I went to the Mission Santa Barbara, and right in front of that mission, there's a huge rose garden. And I was like, I love rose gardens. They're beautiful, and I love looking at all the different varieties of roses. And some of them had a lot of fragrance, and there was a salty air, like saltiness in the air, even though I don't think it was that close to the sea itself. There was a saltiness in the air, and just kind of envisioning this fragrance to be kind of like what I was experiencing at in front of the mission there. But that's Rose Saltifolia from the house of Maison Crivelli. All right, we're going to the house of Masque Milano next. This is White Whale. Let me know if you're familiar with this house and the fragrance. This is an ambergris focused fragrance, but it's kind of a deep ambergris because it has like olibanum, and it also has a lot of salt. It's kind of an unusual fragrance to me. What happened to this brand? I think one of the founders passed away a couple years ago. I don't know what's going on with the brand though, but this is a lot of salt. There's ambergris, there's peppery, spicy notes, light fruity notes, powdery notes like violet and iris. It's very interestingly contrasting the animalic ambergris and the salt against that kind of powdery, almost makeup-like effect with the violet and the orris. White Whale. Do you guys enjoy this one? It's not one of my all-time favorites. Ambergris is quite challenging. One of the most challenging ambergris fragrances for me happens to be Strangelove's Silence the Sea. It's a very tough fragrance. It's so tough to experience that fragrance. So let me know if you guys are familiar with that fragrance, if you've tried it or not. But let's move on to the house of Mind Games. This is the Forward. This is kind of like a salty gourmand. This is delicious. I didn't know much about this fragrance. There's a lot of citruses here. Floral notes, vanillic notes, obviously, and some creamy sandalwood. Wow, that is delicious. I'm going to try some of that on. Who's familiar with this one? Oh boy, that's lovely. It's almost like a salty take on Unknown Pleasures by Kerosene, and much deeper. Because there's a lemon chiffon cake-like effect happening, but you've sprinkled it with salt. There's gourmand vanillic creamy notes in there. Oh my God, that's good. I don't know. I don't know why I don't remember this one, but that's super delicious. On the bottle, it says pomelo and salt. You guys familiar with this? Check it out. It's so delicious. Really, really delicious. That is the Forward from Mind Games. Now, a polarizing fragrance, I think. Although this has a lot of fans. This is Orto Parisi's Mega Mare. Who's a fan? So this is salty skin, salt-dried skin, sea air. There's seaweed here. There's calone, which is the one that, the note that I can't stand. But there's also a lot of amber woods in this. Overdose with amber woods. Like ambroxan is really strong. And then there's also musks. Whew. Who's a fan of Mega Mare? Are you a fan? So the amber woods are pretty prominent for this brand. Like Resvelium, the recent fragrance, it's kind of similar base. Going back to this, the forward, it's quite yummy. But Mega Mare for me is not an ideal fragrance. I'm highlighting it here for you guys so you know what fragrances have salt as a note or an accord. So that's very polarizing for me. But then this next one is also super duper polarizing for me. Well, it's not one of my favorites. This is Acqua di Sale from the House of Perfume Roma. I have the limited edition bottle here. Normally it comes with a clear bottle, but I don't think it's this fragrance that they do a limited edition every year, but they do limited editions of different fragrances, and they have unique things they do with their bottles. This happens to be this. So this is supposedly very, very popular for Perfume Roma, one of their most popular. It's salt, seaweed, myrtle, and cedar. For me, this fragrance smells so good in the winter when it's cold. In the summer, on skin, I can't wait to wash it off. It is like fish jumping off of my skin. But right now, it's a bit cool in here. This room was air conditioned. It's not as bad. But when I put this on my skin, I can't stand it. But it's super salty, very marine, seaweedy. But what I like about this is the myrtle. And on skin in the winter, it acts a bit like patchouli. Anyway, who's a fan of this? Mega Mare. I'm sorry, not Mega Mare. This is Acqua di Sale. And then we're talking about Shea and Blue London's Salt Caramel. And this is a gourmand. Super duper gourmand. But a salty gourmand. Oh yeah, it's yummy. So it does have a cookie crisp sweetness and contrast it with the salt. So it's almost like a cookie that has these drops of caramel, melted caramel that have formed back together. So you're biting into it and then there's the salt sprinkled on top. Or maybe there's caramel in the cookies, because there's definitely something crisp and cookie-like in here that is the effect that I'm getting with this. But for sure, there's major saltiness on this. I used to have a neighbor that used to bake cookies all the time. And she'd always bring cookies that were always sprinkled with Malden salt. That was her thing. Malden salt. And they were delicious. Even the chocolate chip cookies had Malden salt. But this gives me that idea, but, you know, a different variety of cookies. In this case, kind of a caramelly cookie. Yummy. That is definitely delicious. So that is Shea and Blue's Salt Caramel Eau de Parfum. Then we're going to the house of the different company. This is Sel de Vetiver. So this was gone for a while. The brand has brought it back. I believe it's been reformulated. I haven't tried the new version. This isn't the first time I experienced vetiver with salt. There's, not Joe Malone, there's Annick Goutal's vetiver, which was salty. But this was a very popular offering that I think people raved about this fragrance. And it's a great scent. It's just that whole salty effect against vetiver, which made for a little bit of a different experience for a vetiver fragrance. But really enjoyed the smell of this. I really did enjoy this. Yeah, I'd like to get my nose on the new version, but thankfully I have a little bit left here. That's Sel de Vetiver. Let me know if you've ever gotten your nose on that one. Let's move on to the house of Tiziana Terenzi. This is Foco Nero. This is salty, ozonic. I think I'm almost out of this one. This is, to me, very aromatic, citrusy, and salty. some reason today it's reminding me of Cocoa Moon. Why is that? There's no coconut in the notes here. But very aromatic. There's definitely a lot of aromatic notes in this. The juniper, the lavender, but super saltified. Is that a word? Saltified? So that is Foco Nero from Terenzi. This next one's quite challenging for me, but I think the new version's a little bit better than the original, but I feel like people appreciate the original more. This is Tom Ford's Oud Minérale. Is it true that I heard the original version of this fragrance had some kind of a cancer-causing ingredient in it? That's why they pulled it and then brought it back? Or is that just a stupid rumor? Yeah, this is one of the worst Tom Fords for me. Yeah, it's super minerally. Oh, wow. This has salty notes, seaweed, seagrass, sea notes, oud, balsam fir, peppery notes, ambergris. It's very tough. The ambergris in this is smoky, dirty, poopy. Not my cup of tea. But wanted to show you guys to let you know this is available. But let me know if you're a fan. And then we're going to the house of vacation. We're going to vacation by vacation. This is also a fragrance I featured in the tropical video. If you guys haven't caught that, please go catch it. This is coconutty, sunscreeny. And then there's also that swimsuit lycra note in this. There's pool water and, of course, sea salt. That's what we're talking about here. I think it's a fun fragrance. Unusual, not your typical style. But wearable. It's not daring. The swimsuit lycra thing is quite funny. Because there is a little bit of a plasticky thing happening in this. I like it. That's fun. Vacation by vacation. All right, we're going to the house of Voyager next. This is Zantol. You guys familiar with Zantol? So this is salty fruity, and it has a note called santal. I don't know what this fruit is, but it is fruity, more like tropical fruity to me. Very unusual. Yeah, it's an unusual smell to me. And I think it's the santal that's creating this fruit note. But in addition, there's salt. Of course, this is a salty video. There's also sugar, and then there's some jasmine. But it's tropical and kind of a strange smell, unfortunately. Not my favorite. What do you guys think? Have you tried it? But we do have a really awesome scent here from the house of Xerjoff. This is 40 knots. Who's a fan of 40 knots? "40 knots reminds me of Ombre Nuit, but a salty take on Ombre Nuit. It's marinesque. It's musky. Apparently there's coffee here, but I'm also getting some rosy notes. There's cloves. Very interesting, huh? Totally reminiscent of Ombre Nuit. It's not as rosy as Ombre Nuit, but I feel like the background, the backbone is like Ombre Nuit. It's a good scent, yeah. So that's 40 knots. And the last salty fragrance, we're going to the house of Zoologist Perfumes Squid. Yeah, I thought when I first tested this, I thought I was going to be challenged by this, but it's actually unusually good. The ambergris in this is tolerable. It's salty that you can notice it. It's a bit smoky, inky as well, and peppery. And in the dry down, there's ambery notes. This is the kind of ambergris I like. It's not like super duper out there. I mean, it does have some funk to it, but I feel like that salt kind of tones down all the funk that's there. But I think it's perfectly fitting of Zoologist Perfumes. I believe that's created by Celine Burrell. Doesn't say. But that is Squid. And that is the last fragrance, guys. We have covered salt in fragrances. I think there's about 40 fragrances here today in this video. Not as many as 100 that we've done before. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. What do you guys think? Are you a fan of salt in fragrances? Do you experience the same thing that I do experience with salty fragrances, where you add a pinch of salt and it changes the smell completely, or the flavor, if you're speaking about food? Let me know. Add a comment below. But let me know your thoughts on these salty fragrances. Are you a fan? Do you hate them? Do you even hate the idea of a salty fragrance? Add a comment. And if you have favorites of any of the ones here, let me know what they are. And then also let me know if there's anything missing, because I don't have every single fragrance in the world. As I said, I was trying to buy a bottle of Ellis Brooklyn's salt, but Sephora was out of stock. But what other fragrances do you recommend as far as salty notes go? Add a comment below. But thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. I should say, take advantage of our latest Scent Club kit. We do have La Persona in it, but it's Whispering Kiss, one of their most popular fragrances. It's in the kit with this fragrance, Chypre Mousse, and another fragrance, which is Sun Bleached Extrait, which is kind of the idea of sea and salt, but it's not quite that. It's more of a musky, floral fragrance. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like this video. Interact with it if you don't mind. Like it, share it, add a comment, and then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to click that bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos. See you guys later. Bye-bye.